Hello, amazing students. I want to show you how to create this lovely little watercolor marker flower card today. So this is one of our options for our Mother's Day projects. And all you need for this project, you need a piece of paper. It needs to be a little bit thicker than printer paper. Printer paper, because you're going to use a Q-tip and some water, you might rip the paper if your paper is really thin. So trying to find a piece of paper, maybe from a sketchbook or just something that's a little bit thicker paper. You don't need a super fancy piece of paper. All right, so this is what the result is. I'm going to move that out of the way and we're going to start fresh. So first you want to gather your materials. You need washable markers. They cannot be permanent markers or this will not work. Colors are up to you, but remember our color wheel. So if you try to mix colors that are far away from each other on the color wheel, they're going to turn brown. So just keep that in mind as you're creating your flowers. I'm going to use the same colors I used for my first one. And each flower can be a different color, or you can use a couple of colors in one flower. So I'm just going to start. I like to space my flowers out kind of randomly on my paper, but you could do one big flower. You could do a couple flowers. It's kind of up to you. I'm starting by making kind of a little half moon or C shape. It could be a forward C or a backward C. I'm just making a little, it's like a little half moon, and then I'm filling it in. I'm going to leave some space before I make my next one. I'm going to do the same thing. This one's going to be a little bit bigger. And I'm going to make my, so that one's like a backwards C, but then I'm going to make it a little thicker and fill it in, but I'm making sure to leave some space in between. I'm going to keep going around, and as I go out and around, I get a little bit bigger. Maybe my lines are going to be a little bit more wobbly, because what we're doing is we're creating our petals. Now color in those sections. I like to overlap each shape, but I'm trying to keep it so that it's fairly symmetrical, kind of similar, and not totally the same on both sides, but kind of similar on both sides, because I don't want it to be super wonky where one side is way bigger than the other. I'm going to keep just going around, making my petals. Great, so I have my first flower. I am going to, I could, if I wanted to, add a little bit of another color in here, but for my first flower, I think I'm just going to leave it totally red. I'm going to grab my Q-tip and dip it in my water. And I'm just going to spread the marker out from the petal so that it kind of meets my next petal. I don't want to over scrub it or over water it because I want a little bit of difference. I don't want this to be exactly the same color as right there. I'm just adding a little bit of water. So if you followed along and completed the crosses on the hill project that we did for Holy Week, this is the same idea. And so you're using your markers to make your picture look like it is watercolor. There we go. Oh, I missed one. All right, I'm going to do another one. And this time I'm going to use a couple of colors inside of my flower. So now I'm going to do the same thing where I'm adding a little bit of water with my Q-tip. What you can do if you have colors that are close to each other on the color wheel, you can use the same Q-tip and then it'll blend a little bit with the color that's on the Q-tip. I wouldn't want to use, say, yellow. If this was yellow, I wouldn't want to use it with this because yellow and purple are opposite on the color wheel and they will create brown. So I'm just going to use the same one. I'm going to reuse it because a little bit of the pink will add to my purple flower. I like that. Sometimes it'll blend more or less. Then I'm going to let this dry. Once I've made as many flowers as I want, and the number of flowers is up to you. For my first one, I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 flowers. For this one, I'm just gonna leave it at 3 and show you your final step. You need a green washable marker or a couple shades of green. And I am just going to draw leaves kind of loosely. So I'm gonna draw a line in the middle of my leaf, kind of a curved line off of my leaf, and a few little lines inside. I'm not going to color these in right now. And maybe some of my leaves are going to go bump into my other flower and hide behind it. I'm not being very careful with this because I'm going to blend it together the same way I did with my flowers, with my water and my Q-tip. All right, now I need a clean Q-tip. I do not want to use my Q-tip that has purple and red on it because that is going to transfer to your green leaves and you don't want that. I also, before I move on, I'm going to take this water, I'm going to dump it and get fresh water so that I don't accidentally get a little bit of purple or red in my background. Be right back. All right, I've got my fresh water. I'm going to take my clean Q-tip. The other side was clean, so I'm going to use the same one. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to dip my Q-tip in the water and blend my green together. This way you use less of your marker and it's a little bit faster. I'm making sure not to go over my flowers. I'm going around them. I might even leave a little, I might leave a little space so that my color doesn't bleed onto my leaves. So I'm going to carefully go around there, adding water. You could use a paintbrush too if you wanted. I kind of like the way the Q-tip spreads the water really evenly though. All right, and I am done. One last thing that you could do if you wanted to, once your painting is dry, this one's wet, so I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to get my dry painting. If you wanted to go back and redefine some of your edges or lines, you could do that with a regular marker like you used, or if you have a skinny marker or Sharpie, that works really well. So I can just outline if I want to. I only did it on this one. I don't think I did any of the other flowers, so this is not a necessary step, but you might like to redefine your petals just a little bit. The other thing that you can do is you could write a message to your mom if you wanted. I'm going to write inside one of my flowers. I could do it around my flower. I could do it inside of a flower. I'm just going to write Happy Mother's Day. And I'm finished.